What is going on, everyone? Chris with Journos, Comics, and Pop Culture, and we are at it again. This time, we have another top comic book countdown video series, and this is Top 20 Modern Comics to Invest in right now. This is how it's going to go down. We're going to have a 4-part series with 5 books in each video. So today, we're covering 20 through 16. Now, before I get into the video, if you aren't subscribed to the channel, please take the time to do so and check out all the awesome links below, including how to become a patron member of the channel for only $3.99 a month, where you get all kind of extra perks, including automatic entry into all of my patron-only contests. Now, for only $1.99 a month, if you don't want to do the patron, you could do the YouTube membership. That's right, just $1.99 a month. You get extra perks there, as well as extra entries into all of my YouTube contest. Also, if you aren't subscribed to the Comic Book Canon YouTube, find us over there. That link is below as well. Give us a sub. Appreciate seeing you guys on our live shows every single Friday night. Now, let's get into the video. But before I show off the books, it is A1 Wednesday, and as always, one of my favorite days of the week. I got to give a big shout out to my shop, A1 Comics. If you all don't know, they are live every Wednesday and Friday on Instagram doing amazing live sales. I just caught me a beautiful X-Men book. I haven't showed it off yet from their live sale last Wednesday. So guys, check them out. 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern every Wednesday and Friday. They're also on Twitch every Thursday. Their information is below. Go find them and follow them. Also, if you're in the area and you need cash, they buy, as you see here, comics, Pokemon, Magic, trade paperbacks, pulps, toys, statues, original art, and more. You can contact Landman for comics, Christian for cards. Their emails and phone number is right there. You can also check them out at www.a-1comics.com. Are you ready for some hot books? I know I am. All right, we're going to really break these down in a way that I've never done on my channel. But let's just go into the first book. We got a hot one here. Now, before I start talking about the book, this is what we're going to do. We're going to look at the numbers right here. We're going to talk about the book, and then I'm going to show you a chart. I'm going to show you a line chart of what this book has done over the last 5 years, and that's how we're going to look at each of these books. Now, keep in mind, these 20 books in this video series aren't in any specific order, but I'm going to do a follow-up video series where I put them in order based on rate of return. For those that don't understand rate of return, I'm going to talk about it a little bit once I show you the line chart. But let's talk about this book first. Marvel Point One, this is the 2011 issue. This is the first appearance of Sam Alexander, who took the mantle of Nova. So, what's the theme here? Hot modern books to invest in right now. I think every book on this list has the potential to do amazing things over the next 5 years, right? Let's look at what this book is doing right now. CGC 9.8 fair market value sitting at about $190. Look at this though, a high raw sale sold for $73. That's something. Now keep in mind, we don't really have anything going on with Sam Alexander in terms of, movie spec or anything like that. But he is one of those characters that is really in that same gang as Miles, Kamala, Riri, and so forth. That new generation of Marvel superheroes that are getting so much attention right now, and the books are getting so much attention as well. So you can absolutely understand why this book is as hot as it is. Now, how hot is this book? Well, let's look at what it's done over the last 5 years. All right. So we're going to start at 2017. And again, this is 9.8 fair market value for CGC. It was sitting at about $105 5 years ago. In 2018, it took a bump up to $125. And then in 2019, a nice bump up there to $170. It did dip just a little bit in 2020. Back down to $155, but in 2021, it is back up again for a record high of $190. Now, I was talking about rate of return. So just to give you guys an idea what that's going to look like for those videos. Rate of return is basically the percentage of increase year after year. All right. So I'm not going to talk about that in this video. Like I said, I'm going to save that for another video where we're going to really crunch those numbers. So right now, let's just look at what it's doing. You can obviously see that this book has been healthy. There is ebb and flow, but it's never gone back down under that 105 where it was at 5 years ago. And of course, this year it's at a record high. So I would say the overall health of this book is very, very solid. And again, this is one that I think is going to continue to increase. If we get this character announced for any type of live action or even maybe in a video game, I mean, at this point with these characters, anything goes. That can help give this book a bump as well. All right, moving on to the second book of today's video. This is Justice League number 31 from the New 52 series. This is the first full appearance of Jessica Cruz, who of course becomes a Green Lantern. Justice League number 50 is her first appearance as Green Lantern, but this is her first full appearance. She was corrupted by the Power Ring until she was able to take control and become a full Green Lantern later on. These books surrounding Jessica Cruz have caught fire. There has been wind of Jessica Cruz being optioned in the Green Lantern live action that we talked about that some months back now on our Comic Book Canon show, but let's look at these numbers. A CGC 9.8 fair market value right now is sitting at about $249. Wow. That's amazing. I mean, I think I picked one of these books up in the dollar bin some years back, right? High raw sale, $65. Solid, solid stuff. I love Jessica Cruz. I read this whole run. I collected the whole Green Lanterns run with her in Simon Baez. But I haven't read. I only read the first couple of issues. I know. I'm so behind on my DC reading. It's horrible. All right, let's look at what this book has been doing. $80 fair market value in 2017. A bump up to $100 in 2018. Then we saw a huge increase in 2019 to $171, but then in 2020 we saw an even bigger increase, $274. It's over $100 increase. It has so far in 2021, it has dipped just a little bit, and everyone here's goes to show not everything is trending extremely upward, but I mean, look at what 2020 did to it. So a little bit of a dip, but still, I mean, look at where it's at. Look at where it's at between 2017 to now. You know, that's like 3 times the value that it was at 5 years ago. So again, this book is definitely a healthy book right now. I think this book, again, I'm going to say this about every single book. This is one that I think is going to continue to increase over the next 5 years. All right, let's move on to the third book on the list today, and it is another DC book. And this is Batman 635. This is where Jason Todd becomes the Red Hood. I absolutely love the Red Hood character. He's one of my son's favorite. I think there's so much potential for this character. Let's look at these numbers before I get into that, though. CGC 9.8 fair market value, sitting at about $365. Look at this, a high raw sale going for $230. That's amazing. Amazing. So let me talk about this book a little bit. I think Red Hood, and I've said this before, Red Hood has some similarities to what I think Marvel has done with Deadpool. Now, we know that Deadpool was like a carbon copy up in Deathstroke, so there's that element, but I just mean in terms of the cult following for this character. And I think if the DCEU and Warner Brothers ever gets their crap together and we see a Red Hood in the DCEU, I think they can really pivot the Red Hood similar to how Marvel, I know it was under Fox, but we know that Deadpool is now, Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool is now at Marvel Studios. I think Warner Brothers can market Red Hood in a similar way. You know, give him that R rating. I don't know, you know, humor or not. Like I said, I'm not trying to carbon copy them here, but there are a lot of similarities in how this character can be marketed. And again, I think this character, when it comes to the comic books, has that cult following similar to how Deadpool fans over at Marvel have as well. So let's look at these numbers over the last 5 years. This book was sitting at about $219 5 years ago in 2017. We saw a nice little bump up to $243 in 2018. Dipped back down some in 2019 to $222. But then we saw a nice increase in 2020 and then another big increase in 2021. So, I mean, this is a book that I think you can still see possible ebb and flow with. Again, if there is any type of live action announcement, that could definitely impact this. We all know that DCEU and Marvel, or excuse me, in DC, what they've done with their live action, it hasn't had as much of an impact as, say, Marvel and Marvel Studios in the MCU. But don't get me wrong, it's there. I mean, you've seen what James Gunn has done with the Suicide Squad. Just having James Gunn's name on that and having a couple of amazing trailers, those characters are hot right now. Their first appearances are absolutely hot. So don't underestimate the power of DC live action pushing these books up. But regardless, this book is a hot book. It's a beloved character. Maybe a little more ebb and flow. You know, this book might cool off a little bit, but 5 years from now, I think this book is going to be higher than where it's at today. All right, next up, we have Vengeance #1, the first appearance of America Chavez. All right, this book has caught fire. And another one of those characters of just that new generation Marvel. Didn't really get a lot of love, early on. But over the last few years, this character has absolutely garnered more attention. I mean, just look at this number here. CGC 9.8 fair market value, $867. Wow. Just wow. High raw sale, $250. I bought this book in a decent near mint minus maybe. That white cover is hard to keep white. I don't know. Very fine and near mint. I haven't cleaned it up or pressed it yet, but I think I bought it for $1. Matter of fact, I know I bought it for $1 because I remember where I purchased it from the dollar bins. It's right. So again, it goes to show you, especially with modern books, you never know with modern books. With something that could be $1 book yesterday could be, skyrocketing the next day. Now, I always say this too, modern books have a bit more volatility than older books, when you think of Copper, Bronze, or Silver Age. But still, let's look at what this book has done over the last 5 years. I mean, look at this. I mean, it's never dipped once over the last 5 years. 2017, this book was sitting at about $175 fair market value, and that's CGC 9.8. In 2018, a nice little bump up to $200. A nice bump in 2019 to $306. And then look at what 2020 did. $522. And then mind-blowing 2021 right now sitting at about $867 fair market value. Do not underestimate the power of these new characters, especially with Marvel, because we already see Marvel in Marvel Studios and what they're doing with wanting to bring these new characters to their MCU, right? I have high hopes for this book. I absolutely have high hopes for this book. Again, this one has been on such an upward trajectory. Of course, it could have some cool off periods here over the next year or so. But again, 5 years from now, I'm betting on this book. I am betting on this book. All right, everyone, we have one more book for this video today, and that is none other than Black Panther #2. This is the Volume 4, first appearance of Shuri. What can I say about this book? Now, I'm gonna kind of go at this book in a couple of different ways, okay? Let's just look at the numbers before we do that. The first appearance of Shuri, CGC 9.8 fair market value, sitting at about $888 right now. Wow. A high raw sale of $220. Okay. Let's just look at these numbers. Let's look at what this book has done. All right. And I'm going to tell you why it's done what it's done. And then I'm going to give you my thoughts. 2017, this book was sitting at about $130 fair market value. In 2018, that more than doubled to $277. I'm going to tell you why. You want to know why? Many of you probably already know why. The release of the Black Panther film and Shuri having an amazing role in that movie. The success of that movie drove this book up. But look, the book cooled off a little bit in 2019, back down to $197. But what happened? What do I always talk about? Thresholds. What didn't it do? It didn't go back down to where it was at before the MCU debut of this character. That $130, what do I always say? Once the character shows up, you'll never be able to get it at that price that it was at before they showed up in the MCU. That's exactly what happened. We saw a cool off. But look at what happened in 2020. Now, I looked at the numbers. This fair market value of $712 for 2020, it gradually increased later on in the year. And you know why? Because of the passing of Chadwick Boseman. So this is kind of unfortunate. And it's kind of skewing the number of this book a little bit. But I still back this book. But let me tell you, and I said this in August when Chadwick Boseman passed, that the day of everyone finding out that he passed, everyone was already all over social media. You had your clickbait. We got it covered and all these rags that I don't pay any attention to. You know, CBR even. You know, oh, sure, he's going to pick up the mantle, and it's all BS. Nothing's been announced. That's what drove this book like crazy. And yeah, that was a bit of, I don't want to say false inflation, because look, people will buy what they buy, and they were willing to pay that price, but they were paying the price off of a rumor that had no legs, off of a rumor that had no foundation whatsoever. And although I do believe that Shuri will pick up the mantle at some point in time, I don't believe we're going to go into a Black Panther 2 and she's just going to be the new Black Panther at all. I talked about my theory. I believe that M'Baku is going to pick up the mantle and take Shuri's hand, and they're going to sit on the throne together, and she's going to and M'Baku is going to train Shuri, and we're going to see them both at a point in time carry the mantle of Black Panther. That's my theory. So this propelled the book up. And then, of course, in 2021, it's continued to increase to $888. So here's my thing. We're going to get the second Black Panther movie in just over a year, next summer, 2022. If Shuri does not become Black Panther or take the mantle of Black Panther in that film, I believe this book is going to take a hard dip. It is. So I'll tell you, it might not be the best time to buy this book. And I'm going to say, like I say in all my videos, don't just buy books because I'm talking about them. Don't just buy books because you see them in this video. You got that FOMO. Buy books because you love them. You have something that you love about them. Something that you treasure about them. And always know that you're willing to take the risk. I don't think this is the best time to buy this book. I do think this book will cool off if we do not see Shuri take the mantle next year. If she does take the mantle, this book ain't going to slow down. But if she doesn't take the mantle, I think this book is going to dip. But what did I say? But 5 years from now, Shuri is a character that is now more beloved than ever before. And regardless of if she takes the mantle, we're never going to see, I don't think we're ever going to see this book be a $200 book, maybe even a $300 or $400 book. You know, and then 5 years from now, regardless of what happens in the MCU in Black Panther 2, I think this book is going to slowly continue to increase up from there. And this will be one of those long-term books that this character is just going to hold in the hearts of many collectors, young and old. So I absolutely stand by Shuri, even if we see some ebb and flow over the next couple of years. So with that being said, that's the video today, everyone. I want to know all of your thoughts in the comments below. What did you think of the books? Do you have any of the books on this list? And what books do you think should be on this list? And maybe you just haven't seen them yet. But of course, as always, I got to give a big shout out to all my patrons. We got a couple of new patrons over the last couple of weeks. So big thank you to all of you supporting the channel. So big shout out. Jesse, Larry, Serge, Michelle, Jacob, Tyler, Keith, Jeremy, Sean, Michael, Comic Spunk, Jeff, Tricky Clicky, Philly Born, Alvin, Frankie's Aquatics, Fletch Comics, Joshua, Pedro, Peter, Jason, Joe, Larissa, Sagi, Dan, Bishner, and Simon. Again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you all so much. I'm right now trying to figure out what I'm going to take March's earnings, because like I say, I always take every penny from my patron supporters and members and put it back into my channel. So we'll see what that's going to go to. I'll let you all know, of course. I also want to give a big shout out to my YouTube members. I don't have all of your names in front of me right now, and I do apologize for that. But if you guys are watching, I want to say thank you so much. I know it's a lower tier of support, but I really appreciate you guys as well in just being here and supporting me. But at the end of the day, I appreciate all of you, every single one of you watching my channel, commenting, conversating, and just being a part of this community day in and day out. So that's the video to today. I cannot wait to go over the next 5 books on this list with all of you wonderful people. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Be well, and until next time.